Hail thee and welcome back. Well, I have this little plan, and I was considering what Ultima game to play next, and I actually initially wanted to go chronologically and continue with Ultima 2, but that game did not age as well, and someone, thank you for your comments by the way, all of you, suggested to maybe look for a remake of it, like a modded version, which looks better, and I will surely do that, so thank you for that. But some people have said, you know, don't force yourself to play anything you're not currently interested in. Don't, you know, make it hard on yourself. And there was a suggestion of, you know, maybe skipping around a little bit and not going, you know, in the chronological order, but maybe go for, you know, jump forth and back a little bit. And that is what I will do. And my plan for today is I would like to prepare for the next journey and also, you know, take you along with me. And let's do it like we would have done that in the old days. So, you know, imagine we went to a store together, we bought Ultima 4, because that's the game I would like to try next, and I'm really eager to do so, because I dabbled around a tiny bit with it. I made 2 new characters, and just went around a bit, and lots of stuff came washing back, you know, lots of memories came back, lots of things I remembered, and so that is, I'm really excited to play that game, and you know, replay it after all these years. So let us imagine we went to the store together. We bought Ultima 4 back in 1985. I think it came out. It was 85, right? Yeah, probably. And now we're sitting there, we're opening the box, and we see all this accompanying material. So let's take a look at it. And here's a disclaimer. If you don't want to do this whole thing with looking at the bonus material, which is recommended before we play the game, just wait for the next video, or if it's already out, skip to the next video. Don't worry, because in this one we'll just take a look at the material, we'll do some reading together, we'll check out the drawings and design of these things, and do a little deep dive. In the little impressions video I uploaded recently, I looked at this book already, and I would like to do that with you. So once again, the disclaimer: if you're not interested in me reading your stuff or looking at stuff together and discussing it a little bit, then skip to the next video when I'll start with the gameplay. So here we go. So, we looked at this book already, and it starts by retelling the whole story. You know, us killing Mundane, and let's go through this. So, the Dark Ages of Britannia is the name given to that long span of time when the infamous Triad of Evil stalked the lands and challenged all for the supremacy of the soul. So, actually, the different trilogies of the game, you know, Ultima 1 till 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 9, even though there were several, there was more than one Ultima 7, there were spin-offs. These have specific names, and if I remember correctly, the first 3 games, that trilogy, is called The Age of Darkness. The second one is The Age of Enlightenment, and that's what we're starting with Ultima 4. Because the Age of Enlightenment is going to begin. And the last one is, I think, the Age of the Guardian. And I thought, you know, that's another nice thing about going from Ultima 1 to Ultima 4. We played the first part of the Age of Darkness, and now we're going to take a look at the beginning of the Age of Enlightenment. Doesn't mean I won't go back to the other games. I surely will at some point, but yeah. So the first era of the Dark Ages came to an end with the downfall of the evil wizard Mundane and his many minions, as chronicled in Ultima 1. And it was many, many minions, because I did so much farming. The lords of the land were weak and scattered, rendered ineffective by factional wars. It was only through the valiant efforts of an itinerant adventurer that the foul Mundane was tracked to his hidden lair and slain. But a few years of restless peace followed Mundane's downfall. So long had the world shuddered beneath Mondane's yoke that many found it hard to believe he had been really vanquished. In truth, his teachings did not disappear. Mondane's apprentice, Minax, rose to power soon thereafter to challenge the fledgling city-states that were beginning to evolve. The terrors had begun anew. Minax's power upon maturity greatly exceeded those of her evil mentor. With these powers, she was able to rain wholesale destruction upon the planet, twisting and corrupting everything. Her foul web spread through time itself, ensnaring all those who sought to oppose her. Finally, there arose a hero out of legend who dared face Minax in her own fiery castle and destroy her. Thus ended the second era of darkness as told in Ultima II. It's, this manual, this history book that we're reading is a little self-aware, right? Because it keeps referring to Ultima 1 and 2. But anyway, 20 years of well-earned tranquility ensued and prosperity favored the land. Then disturbing omens appeared, followed by the mysterious appearance of a fiery island. Tale of the third era of the Dark Ages is told by Iolo the Bard in Ultima III, wherein Lord British, sovereign of an incipient empire in the land of Sosaria, called forth through time and space for heroes of the people to assemble. 4 diverse adventurers answered this clarion call. To them fell the gears of the doom of Exodus. Long they labored on the trail of the mysterious Exodus, through many a deep dungeon which seared their souls. To this day, each member of that team bears the mark of their journey. Well, I have to say, the only thing that seared my soul in the old games was the space travel and space battle, but that's beside the point. With the aid of the mystical Time Lord, they were successful in bypassing the Great Earth Serpent and gaining access to Exodus' island fortress. We'll take a look at that once I get into Ultima 3, by the way. The very bricks of the fortress rose up against them, and great is the bard's tale of their struggle to reach their mortal foe. Of the final confrontation, none of them will speak, safe to say that the evil is gone from this plane. So passed the third member of the Triad of Evil, and with his death, so passed the Dark Ages of Britannia. So the first trilogy was open, right? From the rubble of Caesarea, Lord British was able to unite all the mainland and a few of the islands under his own rule. This new empire of Britannia brought much sought-after peace and prosperity to its subjects. Many of the ancient pockets of evil were destroyed, so that the only remaining hazard to wayfarers was the occasional stray band of marauding orcs or hill giants. Most of the lands were mapped, although a few unexplored regions still remain. With the Triad of Evil destroyed, Lord British became known for his dedication to raising the quality of life to his subjects. To assist in this endeavor, 3 mighty structures were raised in distant parts of the realm. One was the Lyceum, wherein lay the great observatory. Another was the Empath Abbey, with its oak groves where wise men and women meditated upon the teachings of the ancients. The third structure was the great castle of the Knights Order of the Silver Serpent. Only the flower of Lord British's chivalry was invited to join this order, which embodied the highest ideals and exemplary bravery. The rest of the land was divided among 8 major towns, each with its own political faction. Numerous satellite villages also dotted the countryside between the towns. In this manner were Lord British's lands organized. Well, I'm getting shivers reading the names Lyceum and Empath Abbey, because they play quite a role in later games as well. I mean, they appear in here. It's the first mention of them, I think, and I remember looking for these places and looking through these places, and that was interesting. By the way, don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole book to you, but let's take a look at the thing about Caesarea versus Britannia. Geography. The final destruction of Exodus rocked the known world. Mountains rose, land masses sank. Most of the surface area of the world became fused together into one large mass. It is over this major continent, now called Britannia, that Lord British rules. Some nearby islands also pay homage to him, while beyond these lands lurk uncharted shoals and rumored pockets of evil. Lord British's magnificent castle is situated in the center of the continent, overlooking Britannia Bay. This tall building is the greatest architectural structure of the New Age. Loyal subjects may pay homage to His Majesty and renew fealty whenever they are in the vicinity of his castle. Nearby lies the Art Center of Britannia, the town of Britain, where bards weave tales of legendary deeds and serenade visitors. Well, if you look at the little video of me revisiting Ultima Online, you can see that I'm running through the town of Britain, and I'm actually running by that Bard Institute, the Music Institute, I guess. So let's skip the next few parts. This explains the different areas, and maybe I'll refer to them again later when we visit them in game. But it's talking, for example, of the Ampeth Abbey. Within these hallowed halls, wise men and women study the ancient writings of past masters and meditate upon the great principles that govern the universe. Well, I love books, so when I heard that in this game there is a lyceum, like a library, like a, you know, this place where all these old books are stored, I was just very interested. And it's talking about the other towns like Skara Brae, which of course is based on the original, or Skara Brae, the actual real Skara Brae, which is this mysterious place, or like this ancient place. So next part is about the fellowship and the classes. Mages, the Magi of Britannia, gather in Moonglow near the Lyceum, where they can study the ancient mystical scrolls of the library. If you start your game as a mage, if you answer the questions in a certain way and the game decides to make you a mage, you start in Moonglow, so you're right there. The strictures of their permission permit Magi to wear only cloth armor, that's typical role-playing stuff, right? And carry either a staff, dagger, or sling. Unconfirmed rumors indicate that the highest adepts have acquired the use of arcane magical weapons. Primary weapons of the mage, of course, is magic. As the mages become more advanced, more powerful spells can be woven. Some of the greatest spells have been known to literally shake the earth or raise the dead. So, mage. One thing about the mage, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, is that you have to use these regions. I talked about that before, and before you can cast a spell, you have to mix them in order to prepare them for casting. The bards of Britain entertain the people with their wonderful balance and tales of heroic deeds. Bards not only chronicle the deeds of valor, but perform them as well. The weapons of choice for a bard is a sling, but they may use a crossbow at times. All armor, save that of leather, is shunned by these minstrels, for they find metal harsh and too noisy for their sensitive ears. The bard also dabbles in magic and makes a fine companion on a long journey. So, you know, usually I would keep this right next to me, this book, if I had it in my hands, but I only have it on the screen, so I'll keep it opened. But when I stream, you know, I'm using two different screens. I don't want to tap out of the game, which is in DOSBox, which would kind of ruin the recording a little bit. I tried to find a way to keep that up, because I remember playing and always referring to this manual. So let's go on. Fighter. From the towns of Yalom, hail the mighty fighters. They pass their lives in training and have the use of all weapons and armor. They'll most prefer the use of a double-edged Britannian sword, a devastating weapon in the hands of a skilled fencer. Fighters have little or no magical talents, for they believe only in the use of arms and fear that magical training saps the will and concentration of a true warrior. They possess a particular affinity for horses and are most useful companions on travels to uncharted regions. So yeah, that's a melee character wearing heavy armor. So yeah, druids. Actually, when I restarted the game this morning, I created a new character and it turned out to be a druid. Druids are fierce fighters, especially when defending their beloved grouse. They hold all trees to be sacred, and their town of Dew lies deep in the woods. Druids are also impressive practitioners of the mystic arts, and their knowledge of herbs is without peer. They may fight with different types of bows, although their preferred weapon is the mace. The druidic philosophy forbids the wearing of metal of any kind, so leather is their armor of choice. That's good to know. I mean, that's typical, again, typical role-playing stuff where mages wear cloth and like rogues or druids wear leather. And so let's keep that in mind. And the druid that I was given by the game, he didn't have no weapons at all. So I had to use fight with fists. So it's probably a good idea to gear up early on. To tinker. Tinkers of Minica are both highly skilled artisans and superb fighters. They're generally suspicious of magic, believing that only handcrafted artifacts possess true value and thus use it seldomly. A tinker may use any weapon, however the double-bladed war axe is preferred. Tinkers will use any non-magical armor. Traveling party with a tinker board need never fear for repair or any metal of wooden items. I had a tinker when I started the game yesterday, which I recorded, which you may have seen, that I was given a tinker based on my answers. Paladin. These great fighters live in the town of Trinsic in the southern part of Britannia. They are expert in all forms of combat and weapon use and are one of the few professions that will make use of magical chain armor when it's available. Their deep beliefs in the value of good lend strength to their magic, which they wield with a certain flair. Paladins are thus very formidable opponents and highly valued allies. Then there's the Ranger. Of the western shore of the mainland lies the fair island of the Rangers, venturing far from their retreat at Skara Brae. They strive to improve the conditions of people throughout the realm. Rangers are well versed in woods lore and fight fiercely with most weapons, but shun all but leather armor. So there we go. The archer can only wear leather. There are also proficient magic users and faultless trekkers in any wilderness. The shepherd. It is uncertain whether shepherds are skilled in any form of warfare or in the mystic arts. However, they are highly valued traveling companions for their humility and their knowledge of the ways of the land. Which is interesting because there was actually a shepherding skill in Ultima Online, and we used to joke about, like, what do you use that for? Whoa, I can shepherd some sheep, isn't that helpful? So anyway, so a traveler in Britannia needs not journey alone. In each town one may, indeed one ought to, converse with all the inhabitants. If their personal philosophy of life is close to that of the town, then they'll make one of the residents to join their party. So you can, and that is one of the first things I will do in game, try to get more companions. So I will visit different towns. That's my first priority, to find more companions. And I have to remember that I cannot pick up a companion that is of the same class. So if I, for example, start the game and I turn out to be a paladin, I cannot take another paladin with me. And I think it's more useful anyway to have a versatile group. So yesterday we looked at this page, and don't worry, we'll get to something else in a minute. Here's the stuff I can buy at stores, the different classes. At pubs I can drink something. Bartenders uncurable gossips. If asked the right question and offered the right price, rare news may be obtained. Public drunkenness is prohibited, so temper thy indulgence with wisdom. Grocery, you can buy food, because food still is a factor in Ultima 4. And I think you don't have to watch your food anymore in Ultima 6, if I remember correctly. That whole thing about, like, you know, you have a certain amount of food and when it reaches 0, you're dead. I think that stops in Ultima 6, right? Yeah. The healer. You can visit healers. They will heal, cure you and can rest your party members. The inn, where you can sleep. The herb shop, where you can buy herbs for your spells. The guild shop. The goods once offered by the guilds were quite expensive, but invaluable to the travelers who sought to stray off the beaten path in search of novel experiences. And then you have the shrines and the Seer Hawkwind. Transportation, once again, we've got grass, brush, forest, hills, marsh, and mountains. And then the game takes a look at the weapons and describes them really nicely. For example, the mace. Upon the 1.5-inch thick oaken stem of the Britannian mace rests a globe of iron studded with knobs. The impact of this weapon has been known to shatter the skulls of enemies outright, a favorite among the druids. So we'll have to keep in mind that if I end up with another druid, I should take a mace, or if I end up with a mage, I should have a staff, or get one. The armor types, the magical arts, and you can also cast some fields Field of Sleep, Lightning, Flame, and Poison, which can be helpful. And we're not going to take a look at the monsters because we'll meet them in game and fight them. And so here's a little more advice. Before fighting, be certain that they're properly equipped. Just to have the proper weapons and armor. If not, then thou must equip thyself anew. When thou commence to ready a weapon or wear some armor, thou will be offered a selection of such items. So, same as in Ultima 1, but there's one difference. To equip weapons, I press R and then pick the weapon. To wear a certain piece of armor, I press W for wear and then pick that. Initiating combat, when thou next to an enemy, thou may attack in the direction of that foe. I'll show you that later. Being attacked, if thou dost not attack a creature, then assuredly the creature will attack thee at its earliest opportunity. And how to fight. Each fighter and magic user will have an opportunity for separate actions, so this is turn-based. Once a fight is turned, those with hand weapons may attack an adjacent area. Those with missile weapons may fire them across the battlefield. Magic users can cast a spell when it's their turn. Again, only spells for which regions have been prepared will function. The spell must be selected in the direction fixed. I'm sure I'll have to experiment with that. Victory, when all monsters have destroyed, they will return to the countryside. If the monsters were carrying any treasure, this will now be available to thee. Care should be used in opening any treasure chests as they are frequently trapped. Fleeing. There will come times in thy quest when thou wilt be confronted with superior forces. Whenever one of thy team is near death, guide them or her off the combat field to save them. If the tactical situation deteriorates completely, removing all members from the field will disengage thee from the enemy. There are those who will call thy action cowardly, but a wise leader will know the value of preserving the lives of one's fellow. So, I mentioned this before. I think it's either for Valor or I think it's Valor, right? If you flee from combat, you lose points in Valor, so that's not always a good idea. Terrain considerations: devote considerably time to the study of the field of combat, locate defensible positions for thy party, making sure to maintain an avenue of escape should the battle go badly. Remember our heritage: a few Valiant fighters strategically placed in the narrow rocky pass can stand off any army numbered in the thousands. Weapon considerations and the ethics of war. Do not feel that it is thy birthright to slay everything that walks, flies, or swims. The code of chivalry states that before engaging in combat with a foe, the warrior should ask, is this foe truly evil? If it is not, then thou must not kill it, but stand thy ground and force it to retreat. So, you know, another thing where this game is a bit more philosophical and thoughtful, where it, you know, doesn't tell you slay everything to make your way to the final boss and then kill him. This is a bit more, I don't know, thoughtful. So, let's skip the rest. Let's take a look at the clue book, which is the next book. So we're still sitting there. We're waiting for the game to install, I guess. Hopefully we've got some soda ready or some, I don't know, munchies. And we're looking at the manuals together, the accompanying material still. And this is the way of the Avatar. Hail, seeker and path of the Avatar, I, Lord British, welcome thee and salute thee for thy courage. Within these pages thou shalt find all manner of wisdom and information concerning the land of Britannia and the quest of the Avatar. The one who shall tread the path of the Avatar to full revelation is not only brave, but honest and filled with compassion for all living things. Britannia needs one who can show how to fight the forces of evil from both outside of and within the individual. Our hopes and prayers are that thou might be the one. So the game shows us castles and towns. And this is the castle of Lord British, first floor, second floor on the following page. It shows us the Lyceum, which you can see is a bit more, I mean, it fits, right? It's like it looks like a library. And it's located on Verity Isle, and that's where Moonglow is as well. There's the Empath Abbey, found near the deep forest in the northwestern part of our land. We should, like, you know, that's another reason why it would be great to have these books printed out. Maybe I should print them out and have them at hand while I play, because that's what we used to do in the old days, right? Serpent's Castle. which is to the south of the Cape of Heroes. The Flower of Britannia youth go to the academy within the walls of Serpent's Castle, that they might learn the use of arms in pursuit of the common good. So that's our academy, or our military school, I guess, or the Knights Academy. Moonglow, to the home of the Magi of Britannia, located in the Lyceum on Verity Isle. Britain, Yalom, these are the towns again. Dew and Minnock, Trinsic and Skara Bray, Magentia, and Pause. Pause we do remember from Ultima 1. I mentioned that back then. Buccaneers Den, the pirate area, Vesper, and Cov. Then we have the dungeons. Each town has a dungeon, and each virtue, like for example, honesty, has a town that belongs to that and a dungeon. And here we see the legend, the explanation of the icons, and we actually have no procedurally generated dungeons this time. We actually have maps. So I really should print out this stuff at some point. So we've got Deceit, Despise, Dastard, Wrong, Covetous, mentioned that when I talked about Ultima Online. It's got 8 layers. Shame, Hithloth, the Great Stygian Abyss, which is where the finale plays out, and there are the shrines. So that's that. Let's take a look at the spellbook. Really nice design as well, right? And there's the Silver Serpent, which is what Richard Garriott wears as an amulet in real life. So, the Book of Mystic Wisdom is told by Philpop the Weary, magician to the court of his most sovereign Lord British. And it explains the different ingredients you can get. Sulphurous ash, ginseng, garlic, spider silk. You know, let's take a look at one of them. Maybe garlic, which is pretty short. Even the most common of nature's gifts to our people have magical properties, as can be witnessed by the power of garlic. This pungent bulb is found in every garden in the lands of Britannia, and no stew or roast would be complete without its sharp flavor. Its aromatic nature makes garlic a powerful regent in the casting of magical spells, and it is used in all spells of the warding variety, be they the warding off of common and magical sickness or the repelling of beings once dead. So, guess we can use it to cure and rest. So these are the different ingredients. In Ultima Online, by the way, you would just walk around, they'd be laying on the floor in certain areas, so you can farm in that way. We've got Black Pearl, Nightshade. These are all standard in the Ultima series. Mandrake Root. And then we've got a beautiful picture, you know, of, I guess, a mage healing or resurrecting someone. So here are the spells. Awaken. Should you or any of your fellows ever be so unfortunate as to come under the influence of a magically induced slumber, the use of a spell of awakening will often alleviate the condition. Blend the two regions carefully, so it's ginseng and garlic, and apply the mixture to the brow of your sleeping companion and chant Levate. Next one. Each one seems to have like this beautiful picture. Blink. Many are the occasions that the thaumaturge needs to be elsewhere in very short order and finds that neither horse nor ship or any conventional form of travel is of sufficient promptness for the situation. Magical means of travel must then be used, of which the blink spell is the most common. The spell disassembles the mage and companions and reassembles them at the spot many leagues distant. There are means of travel that cover far great distances than the blink. So yeah, we need, for the blink spell, we need spider, silk, and blood moss. The concentration required for blinking is such that the spellcaster will most certainly feel the effects, but not be left exhausted. Okay. Next one. Cure. Venomous creatures are burned throughout the lands of Britannia. Rarely are they evil, nature having. So this is like a spell that cures poison and stuff. And we need garlic and ginseng for that. It's another cool picture. dispel. The use of energy fields, we can dispel them with that. And once again, it would be good to have these books next to me if I would want to cast one of these spells and need to know the regions for it. Otherwise, we could also take notes or keep this list opened in a browser because there are websites gathering this information. So there's energy fields, sleep, poison, fire, and lightning. That was talked about before. I just love this art style. It's very old school, right? Fireball. When beset upon by evil, the spellcaster has many offensive tools. We've discussed some of the indirect magic such as energy fields. There's a class of missile spells for such occasion, of which the fireball spell is the intermediate one. Black Pearl is used to launch the projectiles, and sulfurous ash is used to make it a fireball. So there's logic to it, right? And there's that one. Gate travel. In the repertoire of teleportation enchantments, gate travel is by far the most powerful. This is because it not only utilizes the regions and chants of most magics, but also the power of the gates of the moon. The moon gates are located throughout Britannia and appear only at certain phases of the twin moons, Trummel and Feluca. To cast the spell of gate travel, one must speak the name of the moons as the regions are stirred. As the enchantment takes effect, the spellcaster and any companions will be instantly carried to the location of the desired moon gate. Yeah. It has been a long-standing tradition among the practitioners of the mystic arts to zealously guard the secret of the component of the gate travel spell. It is said that revealing these regions will seal the use of the gates to the owner who divulged the key. Of course, none have dared to speak of them for fear of losing one of the most powerful and exhausting spells. This writer is no exception to this belief. So yeah, let's hurry on. There is Heal. There is Ice Ball. That was not in the later games, I believe. Again, we use Black Pearl because it's a projectile thing, and we use Mandrake to turn it into ice because Mandrake will bring the chill of the grave. We have Jinx. There are but two enchantments more powerful and difficult than the Jinx spell, but one of the similar potency. When faced with a closely packed horde of enemies, mix together equal quantities of Black Pearl, Deadly Nightshade, and the Crimson Mandrake root to cast at your opponents. Call to their attention the vulnerability of their backs and weave the magic. They shall turn and smite each other, as if each was alone in the crowd of mortal foes. So Jinx is a provoking or mind control spell that makes enemies attack each other. Pretty nice, right? Takes a bit more regions, but still nice. Kill spell, most powerful of the missile enchantments. So it's a missile one, so it takes Black Pearl, and you use Nightshade mixed with that. Then we have, once again, you know, these cool pictures. Light. It's pretty nice for dungeons because you will otherwise use torches. Magic Missile, so you can guess, right? It needs Black Pearl, right? And Sulfurous Ash. Yeah. And then we have Negate. When faced with a greater or more telling magic than one's own, the practitioner may decide the best for all involved to suspend everyone's use of thaumaturgy for any short time. So this stops magic, right? So yeah, negates will last only a brief time, which should be used for either the annihilation of your enemies or the judicious removal of your presence from the troubled spot. And there is Open, which opens boxes, chests. Let me see. Yeah, it also removes traps when you open them, because if you try to open a box with your hands, I guess, a chest, and it's trapped, well, the trap will be triggered. Protection, which is your magic shield. Then we have Quickness. We've got Resurrect. Otherwise, you can get your characters resurrected as a healer. Hopefully, we won't have to use that too much. It's a cute picture. Sleep. Put enemies down into slumber. Tremor, which is an earthquake spell, as we can see. Undead. Let me see what does this. Once dead beings take many forms, the most ghoulish forms, flesh-eating corpses. Each mage knows a form of turning them aside when encountered, but the components of such magics are personal. You must use your knowledge of the properties of magical regions to determine which two will lend force to your enchantment of undead turning. Okay, so this is turn undead, turn away ghouls and stuff. And there is view. What does this do? It's a great advantage. The view incantation is of middling difficulty, involves the use of hallucinatory nightshade and powerful mandrake root, and gives you an overview of the land within the range of a simple blink spell. Wind change, it's pretty nice. I think you can use that. You can use that to, for sea voyages, right? To turn the wind, which is pretty nice. And then we have it when trapped in the bowels of the earth. It's exit, right? The exit spell. I guess it's like a little bit like the grandchild of the ladder up spell, which allowed us to get out of dungeons. And then we've got Y up. Discovered that blood moss. Oh yeah, that is ladder up. And we can see that in the picture as well. And ladder down. Still have those. So yeah, these are the spells. And I hope I didn't bore you too much yet. We'll have two more things to look at, but that's going to be pretty quick. We've got the player reference card for the IBM version. These are the commands. I actually did write them on a piece of paper already. Some of them are very similar, like they used to be in Ultima 1. Some of them are new, like for example Jimmy Lock or a New Order. Which makes sense because we didn't have an order, we didn't have a party in the old game. There are some special notes. Be sure to keep a journal of that travels, of course, writing stuff down. Be sure to thoroughly explore the cities and towns. And during their conversations with people in Ultima IV, thou may feel the impulse to show thy generosity to less fortunate fellows, thou may do so by saying give. And that's one thing I think that raises your compassion skill if you give money to people. So yeah, conversation is important, and there's going to be a lot of conversation we're going to have. I'll show you that once we get to the game. And there are more things that, enchantment potential of the various professions. We've got directions. We've got the runic alphabet. That was that's why I told you when we look at the map, I used to be able to read these runes because they were in Ultima 6 in the box. You had a reference card with the runic alphabet, and I tried to read all the names on the map. And back then I was able to do it. I'm not able to do it anymore most of the time. So let's take one last quick look at the map. There we go. I showed you that in the other video. And some things we can identify, for example, Brittany Bay, which is really in the middle. And let's see, some of the things you can just deduct. But the Isle of what's that? Let's take a quick look. The Isle of St, and then we've got Steel. The Isle of Steel, I guess that is. And virtue aisle should be this right here. Or is it this one? No. And that's dagger aisle. Right? So, we're gonna keep this slide. I wish I had that printed out. I wish I had it in front of me. This is gonna be stuff we're gonna use for the game, because the game does not have a lot of the stuff that we are used to, quality of life stuff, like auto mapping maps in the game. You know, we all are used to pressing the M button to up a map. This game is not gonna allow that. So, you know, back then we needed to have those maps. So, I hope you finished your solder. And the game is installed now, so let's, you know, group around the computer and let us begin playing the game. So that was the intro. Whether you skipped it or not, thank you for being here. I hope you'll join me on my next journey. I hope this was interesting and not too dull or boring to you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and fare thee well.